Ma, 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 ma. Welcome to the very first ever episode of The Lockdown, hosted by myself, Adam Cuthbertson, and brought to you by All Natural Skincare. You can check out all All Natural Skincare products at www.lnaturals.uk or click on the link below. Today on the program, we are lucky enough to have a very special guest, hailing all the way from Florida, but grown up obviously here in Yorkshire. Our first guest, Matthew Lewis. How you doing, Matthew?
I like it. Is that you in the back?
That old fella.
Yeah.
That's my great grandfathers that fought during the I can't make shit up on the spot.
I was going to say that was a lie, wasn't it?
So basically, funnily enough, there's a story behind this. In 2016, I went out on a bit of a night out with my best mate who came over to visit. And we went out to Newcastle, actually. And then we ended up going thinking Whitby was around the corner, which it wasn't, obviously. So we drove for hours and then got to Whitby. And then, that hungover, we didn't spend all that much time there. But the one thing we did do was walk past this costume shop.
Right.
And anyone that knows me, and you've seen me out and about on Mad Mondays,
Yep.
knows I love a good dress.
Always in costume.
Hey?
Always in costume.
Yeah, always.
You're in fancy dress now, look.
Always wearing a mask. Always wearing a mask. I don't actually like a beard. I don't like the beard. It's just my mask. So
yeah.
So then anyway, my mate didn't even want to get a photo. So I dragged him in to actually get it. And yeah, that's me dressed up as like a I don't even remember what they were. I know he was like an African soldier, and I was like someone that guarded a ship or something. But the funny thing about that photo is, the best thing about that photo is my best mate can't actually grow a beard.
Right.
Or start or anything. He's like just never been able to grow anything. So to make him look more traditional, what the guy's done is he's gone and like copied out my moustache and stuck it on him. So my mate's wearing my moustache, and the whole time we did this, did not want to be there whatsoever.
Is there? Can we get closer on that? How mobile is your camera? I want to get a look at that.
That's another story. I can actually take it off the wall.
Yeah, that's better. Do that.
So it's like one of them sticky things. But so you see here, that's my moustache. That's one of my best mates, Luke Baker, and they've transferred it with the digital editing. And
it's good. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he rather suits it, and I think he actually enjoyed it. But he's still got a baby face. Doesn't grow any.
What can you do
on his face? So basically, I'll just explain what this was all about. So I've been talking to Phil during the week, and I just thought like it'd be good to go around and get because I know a fair few people around the world and that, just get some insight into what's going on where they are, especially people that I suppose can relate to Yorkshire because they're from you being forward. It'd be good to do like a little bit of a not an interview, just a flipping have a bit of a convo, a bit of a chat.
Yeah, I've just got a new bed. I've got a massage bed. If I put it on, is it going to be too loud?
Do it. It'd be awesome.
Can you hear that?
No.
Good.
No, not really. No.
Good. I'm putting it on then.
What about the timing of that new massage bed just before your potential?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, we went down to the shop and we went to get it, and I actually forgot my card to pay for it, and she was like, "Do you want to sign up for a new credit card so you can get it from us?" And I was like, "Well, not really." But she's like, "If you don't buy it today, we're probably going to close tomorrow, and we're not going to reopen. So if you want the bed, like, you've got to get it now." So I've got a new credit card, which I don't want.
You just had to make that decision. Had to go.
Yeah, but now I've got the bed and I'm stuck in isolation. Pretty happy with the call, to be honest.
Potentially, too, it looks like interest rates might drop, so your credit card might not be that bad.
It's all right. I got a 0% for 4 years.
4 years. You know what they do there? They do that so you forget about it.
Yeah.
You know what? This is the first. I've got a few mates lined up in that, but this is the first one, Matty.
Oh, very good. No pressure.
Absolutely no pressure whatsoever. But basically, I'm going to call it's going to be called the lockdown. I know you're not locked down.
Not yet. Looking at the news today, I think probably tomorrow.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. The governor's dragging his heels, but we'll see.
We'll sort of touch on a bit of that because obviously I think it's important for people, especially that follow you and your career, to know sort of where you're at in that in terms of what's going on your side of the world currently. You know, you're Yorkshire led.
Yeah, well, I've moved into the office. I thought the bed was a bit too.
I liked it. It's sort of raunchy.
Yeah, I thought that the seriousness of the conversation, I thought that the bed was just too casual. So I've moved into the office.
You thought we were getting serious then?
I thought we might get a bit serious. So I've moved into the office.
What are you drinking out of? You've gone proper American. That's like a gallon. Well, not quite American, but class.
No, someone got me it for my wedding gift. It's massive, isn't it?
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Class.
So the missus says Mrs. Lewis on it, and she's got a Yank flag, and I've got British flag.
Beautiful.
It's called an Arctic mug. Keeps stuff really cold.
Oh, so it's actually put some use besides holding a ton of drink.
Yeah. It's everything. They're obsessed with keeping everything cold over here, aren't they? Like, they always moan about how our beer's too warm and everything.
I mean, I sort of get it because I'm from Oz, but...
Right. By the way, if you can see boxes, I've just moved into a new house like 3 days ago. So
I was going to ask you about that because I seen your tweet the other day.
Yeah.
But we'll get on to some of the questions and that. So basically, this is day 2 of the English British lockdown. So basically, I was just going to ask you whereabouts you're at. I know you're obviously in Florida at the minute. That's where you call home at the moment. But where you guys at in terms of everything that's going on?
We're in Central Florida, near Orlando. The theme parks and all the rest of it, they're all shut down. It's been despite like how obvious it's been for like a few months, a few weeks for us, but a few months for all the officials. There's been a lot of feet dragging because, particularly in Orlando, which, you know, the majority of, I think one of the largest sections of the economy here is the tourism industry.
Yeah.
And also further down south towards Miami and Florida Keys is tourism. And it's spring break at the minute, so all the students are all off and they all flock to theme parks, they flock to the beaches, and everyone's been reluctant to shut them down.
Yeah.
Universal and Disney shut last week, which is for spring break unprecedented. It'll be costing them a fortune, but they made the right decision to shut down.
Whose decision was that? The government's or?
No, that was an individual decision from the parks themselves.
So they haven't actually been told to shut down.
Not as far as I'm aware, because the state is still very much open, and the beaches and stuff have all been left open. The beaches have only just, I don't even know, I think they've just been shut down within the last couple of days. I don't know if you saw any of the videos of all the spring breakers out there. So that's only sort of happening recently, and I think from what I'm hearing, like, there's going to be a British style lockdown in the next. Well, I expected it today, probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
It just depends really, because like I say, they're kind of they're trying to balance the economy with human lives at the minute.
Yeah.
Without wanting to get too political, we have a Republican governor here. The Democrats are like, shut it down, save lives. The Republicans are like, well, let's see if we can save the economy first. So it's kind of, they're dragging their heels a little bit.
It's absolutely madness, isn't it? Like
It's-
I commented about your message to me the other day that what's the point of saving the economy if there's no one to see it out? Like if everyone's dead.
I mean, that's the long and short of it. At the end of the day, I mean, I kind of feel like, if you think of if you have a strong economy and you can think of it as like a rainy day fund, but if your house is burning down and you don't want to, run up your water bill and put the fire out because you don't want to ruin your rainy day fund, then what's the point in having one? Like, the reason we have a strong economy is so that when point.
It's mental, isn't it? It seems like there's a few up top.
It's the fan and we have an emergency, we can actually take care of our citizens.
I think about,
it seems to be the other way around.
I suppose the blue collar people
die to look after the economy. It's like, what's the point?
Crack on and not be, isn't it? Seems like there's a few up top that sort of taking care of their own before they think about, I suppose the blue collar people down bottom that have to continue to crack on and not be,
And also, like again, I don't want to go too political with it because I can't vote here. It's none of my business apart from my taxes to Uncle Sam. But the one of the things that you get here is you've got to bear in mind as well that all of those people at the top, whether it's your senators and your congressmen and CEOs that want us to keep stuff open, they've all got very, very good healthcare. But I think it's something like 26 million Americans are uninsured. 26 million Americans do not have access to healthcare. And last I checked,
$35,000.
that's a bill got sent out last week to a woman who had no insurance. Whether she's going to pay it or not, we'll see. But a bill got sent out for coronavirus treatment to a woman, and it's basically $35,000.
$35,000.
Yeah, that's for your COVID-19 treatment. So
to cover this, what they've come out and said it's more or less an aggressive virus that's similar symptoms to the flu almost. I know they're starting to take some back steps now, saying that it's a bit more worse than that. But $35,000.
Yeah, that's kind of what you get. I guess she must have been on a ventilator and just time in a hospital and stuff like that.
I'm not sure.
Again, it's all up in the air in terms of whether the government's going to be covering that stuff.
Is every state sort of got
who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I've not. I think they passed a bill last night.
Like other states currently in lockdown, or is it just?
Yeah, that today. Yeah.
I'm not sure how America works, but is every state sort of got their own? You say you're a Republican. Do every state sort of are there other states currently in lockdown, or is it just?
Yeah. So California locked down ages ago, at least a week ago, if not more. And what they call shelter-in-place orders, where they tell people to just basically go home and stay home. Now, California did it a while ago. I believe that New York is under that. I don't want to give any misinformation, but I think New York is under that at the minute. Democratic governors, just to drop that in there. But yeah, basically that's been left kind of to the individual state governors to make those calls. Kind of this weird thing in the US where you've got a federal government which oversees everything, but there's this constant argument about what they call states' rights, about what should be the decision of the federal government, i.e. the executive, the president and Senate and whatever, or should be left to the individual states to decide
you just feel
what
like
they do.
You just wish,
and as far as I can tell at the minute,
the bull by the horns, wouldn't you? And just
the executive has left
let's
this.
lock it down.
Well, I mean,
we've done
the
it this
individual
week,
states to decide what
like
their response is going to be.
A few weeks ago, or if you want to go right, you just feel like you just wish. Someone would just take the bull by the horns, wouldn't you? And maybe just say, listen, let's lock it down.
Well, I mean,
we've done it this week, but I feel like if we had done it a few weeks ago, or if you want to go right back, should have done it when China first, all first sort of came on, and maybe they've locked them in more or less, in a sense. But
I don't think you need to be an epidemiologist to figure out that if only one state out of 50 does a lockdown, that's not going to prevent the spread of the virus if the other 49 states aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Like, that has to be, if you're going to consider yourself one country, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have a unified response. Because ultimately, if 49 states lock down and one doesn't,
one country,
that's
like you
going to
say,
fuck it up for the rest of them.
Speaking of which,
it needs to be a unified front, I think.
It's crazy.
So
it's crazy to think that you'd have, so much independence throughout all different states, when it's just one country, like you say. Speaking of which, how is the family? All good?
Yeah, no, we're all fine. We're all healthy. No one I know. Well, I don't want to. I'm technically under quarantine right now. I won't tell the story. I don't want to embarrass the person who I think potentially may have passed on.
Go on, do it.
I won't tell the story. But maybe I'll tell you privately afterwards. I don't know. But basically, I've kind of self-quarantined myself. I've got no symptoms, nothing at all.
Yeah.
I was in contact with this person 2 days ago.
Well, to be fair,
he doesn't have any severe symptoms yet, but he's got some mild stuff. So I'm just kind of waiting to see. But I've basically bolted the door, and apart from letting the dogs out, I'm stuck in here.
But they had, to be fair, quite a similar scenario a couple of weeks ago. Symptoms to go over the Catlins and play the Dragons, flus and that. We had a few boys that sort of getting chesty coughs and that, and really bad for a week. We all didn't panic. No one panicked at all, but they had sort of sit around for a few days and sort of wonder if symptoms in terms of what's going to happen. So at the end of it, and they did have chesty coughs and that, and really bad virus. But we all, it's just didn't panic. No one panicked at all. Matter of the unknown now. We all sort of sit around for a few days and sort of wonder if or what's going to happen. So at the end of it, they didn't have the coronavirus, but it's just a matter of the unknown now, isn't it?
It's as simple as that. I mean, it's just not taking the risk. I mean, as we say, like 80% plus of people only get mild symptoms, and also the current season of colds and flu, the chances are if you have symptoms, you still don't have it, but it's just better safe than sorry.
Well, I wake up every morning.
It's the right thing to do.
I get paranoid. Sometimes I don't know.
Quarantine yourself, because
this is a thing. But
if you come out the other side of it, you go, it's just a flu.
And pick up some groceries.
Fine, great. You've not given anyone the flu.
Oh, mate, yeah. I don't know if I talk myself into feeling sick or what. Well, I wake up. I know I get a bit of hay fever. I get a bit paranoid. Usually sometimes. I don't know if this is. There's always that little. Sometimes if I have to run down the shops to pick up some groceries, I'm going to get it sick. Probably.
Oh, mate, yeah.
I don't know if I talk myself into feeling sick or what, but I know I get a bit of hay fever. And I usually last all year round anyway, so there's always that little glimmer of, like, I suppose, panic about that you're going to get it. And probably more scary thing is passing it on to my partner and my son. So
yeah. I mean, the pollen count here in Florida right now is really high. They keep telling everyone on the news that it's really high because everyone's sneezing, everyone's getting sore throats, everyone's sort of coughing and stuff. And so when I met this guy a couple of days ago, and then he said that he was having these symptoms, the second I heard that on the phone, I was like,
yeah.
My throat's getting scratchy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I went straight.
So people that don't know you or don't follow you on Twitter,
in the morning with a fever. That's just it.
Have moved in.
But then I've been fine. I've been absolutely nothing at all. Yeah, Since I've not been going outside. My throat's
what's it like?
It's just been the pollen,
But good setup.
Better safe than sorry is all I keep saying.
So people that don't know you or don't follow you on Twitter, you have moved into your new property.
I hadn't sold this crap.
Yeah. What's it like? And is it a good setup?
Yeah, it's all right. It could be because we were jumping back and forth over the Atlantic so often.
Yeah.
We'd not put our roots anywhere, and we'd moved to LA for a little while as well. So we've been living renting a 1-bedroom apartment for the last 3-4 years. That's fine.
What about the fun of that? Could you imagine?
We finally got this place, so we got
a 1-bedroom apartment.
2 stories, and we can we've got a garden where we can let the dogs out now. We don't have to actually go outside to let the dogs go. And they're only small, like they're fine.
What about the timing of that? Like, could you imagine if you go into lockdown tomorrow and you got a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah, we'd have gone insane. We'd have gone completely insane. So we got in just in time. We finished on Saturday moving in. So like, like 4 days ago. And we've kind of had to just stall it a little bit because we had all these big plans about what we were going to do and what we were going to buy, and now no one's got a job, and we can't get anything delivered, so we're just kind of sitting around.
Are they stopping deliveries there?
Pretty much. So Amazon are only doing essential deliveries until at least the 21st of April.
Right.
So if you order anything, if I was to order, I don't know, iPhone, it'd be a 21st of April.
Right.
Pretty much. I think they're still doing, like, I think you can still get takeaways and stuff. They're doing what they call contactless deliveries. Like they'll leave your pizza like a few feet down the drive or something. I don't know.
On the doorstep.
yeah, something like that. In fact, a guy came around yesterday. A pest control guy came around yesterday, and I was like talking to him through the door. I'm like, I'm in quarantine. Leave it on the step. So he came and dropped that off and left. What they can do, what they're doing a lot of actually is, because we're trying to support small business as much as we can, a lot of takeaway places, or at least restaurants,
I
aren't traditional takeaway. They're doing like a lot of meals that they're boxing up, and you can go and buy them, and just to try and give them a few quid during this time, when because they've been restaurants have basically all shut down.
Everyone was queued up. Yeah, I noticed something. I noticed the other day, and I don't know if you seen it. Astonished me how many local businesses who opened the other day. My local Audi, couldn't believe whether the queues down there like to get in, because I went down before it even opened, and no one was going to them. No one was going to them. It sort of made me feel a bit silly about how many local businesses. But this is my town. We need to, rather than flock to the big chains where, they might struggle. No one was going to them. No one was going to them. And sort of made me feel a bit silly about myself. Like playing, this is my town. These small businesses, they just need rather than flock to the big chains where, they might struggle. They may or may not go under. I highly doubt it. Especially if they've planned things right over the next couple of weeks. But these small businesses, they just need our help, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's global. That is something that I mean, I think that whatever happens at the end of this, in 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is, the world is gonna look different.
Yeah. A good lesson, won't it?
Yeah, I think it will be a big lesson, and I think that it's kind of like what you get when you talk about the BBC and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't know what you've got.
I don't want to get too
gone.
Personal, but
and these little shops and stuff that if we don't support them now, we're gonna come out of our houses and see the sun for the first time in 3 months and realise that they're all shutting down and they're not coming back.
I don't want to get too personal, but it's made me really think constantly going to, I know my finances, throughout my career, I've made the end of my career investments, so I've sort of property in that and my finances regardless. But it's only taken something just where like this to the unnecessary how close you can be to bankruptcy unless you're constantly going to, have everything under wraps. Throughout my career, I've made quite a few investments in terms of property.
Well, I mean,
it's only taken something.
They talk about it all the time about how many Americans and Brits just simply they can't even knock together $500 in an emergency. They just most people just can't do that.
That's because you assume when
they talk about it all the time about how many Americans and Brits just simply
especially people
they can't even knock together $500 in an emergency. They just as soon as you get most people just can't do that.
That's because you assume if you got you got a good job, purchase the product that you may or may not sell. Good at your job. That's especially where people are contractors. I think unless your job's got that constantly got work. As soon as you get to a scenario like this, to have a survival or have you work for them, or especially in time purchase, you just wouldn't think would happen may or may not sell.
Completely.
That's where we go wrong, and I think unless you've got that, it's funny because to have a survival savings, like especially in a time like that, you just wouldn't think it would happen in that area. I don't think.
Completely. I mean, I can't think of much else that would ever shut down life as we know it completely for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's why it's been so difficult, I think, until the government actually says lockdown, because it's very easy for someone like me, who fortunately has savings, to say to people, don't go out, stay home, don't go anywhere. And it's like, but I can't afford, I literally can't afford. It's not as if like, oh, I'll run out of money. I literally cannot afford. I won't be able to eat. I won't be able to pay my bills. I won't be able to do this if I stay at home. I have to keep going to work. So at least the government has tried to do something there, with this pain of wages. I'm talking about the UK now, with the pain of wages and trying to get people, because it's a frustrating ask to ask me to stay at home for 2 weeks, but it's a big ask to ask someone who literally doesn't know where their next meal's coming from to stay at home. And so I think that's something that we need to, like, again, the idea of coming out the other side of this, we all have to give our head a shake and go, this system really is incredibly fragile, and it simply does not work for the majority of people. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a politician, but in its current iteration, it is not fit for purpose.
Speaking to you, like your family and that back home here, do you get a full understanding of what's going on in the UK now?
I've been watching the government's briefings every day on BBC, because I can't stand watching the Donald Trump briefings over here.
Did you see the one the other day where the lady? I mean, it was completely like this lady interviewer was asking him questions about the way he briefed the problem, about calling it a Chinese virus. Did you see the way? There's so many things wrong about it. Like,
the
fact that they're even bothered about the way he briefed it, it's just a problem, isn't it? Regardless of how he spoke about it, it is a problem, and we shouldn't be worried about how it's been spoken about. We just need to worry about fixing the problem. But the way he responded was ridiculous.
That's it. I mean, he's incapable of diffusing a situation. He's got such a thin skin and a narcissistic complex that he's got no inability to be diplomatic. Like, everything's an argument, everything's a fight. I mean, that guy, I can't remember his bloody name, but that journalist gave him such a softball question today. He says, Mr. President, what do you say to Americans who are scared? Like, that is such an easy opportunity to give a real passionate speech to the people and make yourself sound like a wartime leader and really endear yourself to everyone. It was such an easy opportunity. It wasn't a difficult question. It's just like, hey, everyone, we're all in this together. We're going to keep fighting on your behalf, but as Americans, we'll get through this. Don't worry. Instead, he just went, what a nasty question. I would say that you're not a very good reporter. It's like, and he just basically used the opportunity to attack the reporter.
Very defensive, eh? That really would have been the best opportunity he probably ever had to be one of the people and become a bit more heartfelt and understanding and give his opinion where he doesn't have to be so defensive.
Yeah, it was a strange reaction, and I feel like the only reason you would give a reaction like that is because he feels some level of guilt, like that he's just like, what are you suggesting? This is the scared Americans because that's my fault. It's like, well, I didn't say that, but if you're thinking that, then
but like we're talking about going on back here. I mean, with everything going on, does it make you feel homesick at all? Obviously, home's wherever you and your wife live and your dog, but home's where your heart is, obviously. But does it make you feel a little bit anxious and a little bit, nervous of what's going on here, and it's hard because you can't be here to help?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I get very homesick anyway. I mean, this is very much, being here in Florida is the life we've got at the minute, but it's definitely not where we're gonna be for the rest of our lives.
Is that an exclusive?
Yeah. No, it's 100% like something that we've always wanted to have a place here, and the last few years has been building up to getting a place here, but ultimately we would like to come back to the UK,
Yeah.
And still split our time, but certainly have spend a lot of time of the year in the UK. I miss it a lot, and yeah, particularly when stuff like this is when stuff like this is going on. That's why I'm watching the UK briefings on BBC, and I'm not watching the US briefings on CNN.
What's going on in the
It's and also, my parents are there. My parents are, of all the people that I know, even my mother and father-in-law, my parents back in the UK are the most high-risk people that I know.
Yeah. Well, that's more or less what I was asking, because I mean, I have the same concern. Like, I'm in a similar situation to you, where the point I'm in the UK now, but my mum, my dad, family are all reside in Australia, so I share that similar concern. And like you say, milds are high risk. So that's sort of where I was alluding to in terms of why it may feel like you need to be back home.
Well, I think that do you know what I always notice as well is that when I say we, when I'm talking about we, like our government is doing this, we need to do this. I'm always talking about the UK.
UK, yeah.
No matter how much tax I pay here, no matter how long I stay here, when I say we, I'm talking about the United Kingdom. And I imagine it's probably the same for you when talking about Australia. And it's and so I kind of want to be plugged into that, into what's going on. That's how I feel. And I don't know what it is. When people get to about 60 years old, they become the most stubborn, obnoxious people, and it's like trying to explain to my parents to stay home and not do things, and that people will do their shopping for them, and they become like children. Like they become stubborn. They lie about it. They pretend they haven't been out when I know they have been. They
Have you told your mum that, or is that like a?
Yeah, no, I've had this. I've had this, and this is why it's been so difficult, because I'm trying to do this all over like WhatsApp, and FaceTime, and I can't actually physically go around and lock them in.
Time difference, hard, isn't it?
And they've got and they do this thing where they pretend to be stupid, and I know full well that they're not stupid, and they fully understand the gravitas of the situation, but they pretend not to, and they go, "Oh, really? I didn't even think of that." It's like, yes, you did. You're just having an excuse.
That's lovely, Matthew.
Yeah, they know full well. They know full well. But I think now that they're, with the speeches that have been happening this week with the government, and that all of us as kids have been really getting onto them, I think they've kind of got the message now.
I think that's the thing. So, over the weekend and leading up to the weekend, I don't think people really understood how serious it is. So, I like getting out and going on adventures anyway. And we sort of went into our own lockdown at Leeds Rhinos. So we had a bit of time before the actual UK lockdown began. So I was getting out and about. But then I think it was 2 days prior to them addressing the lockdown, I went out to, I think it was like Malham Cove, and I tried to take the young fella out to out Otley Shevin Way for a bit of a walk and that the other day, and just to get out and about. And I couldn't believe how many people were out and about. Even today, I went for a drive just to get out of the house a bit, and just drove through the Harrogate countryside and back. And I still couldn't believe how many people were out. Funnily enough, it was a lot of old people. It's almost like they've set this all up so they can just get out of the house. Honestly, must be people, old fellas left, right, and centre, jogging down the street or walking down with their walking sticks and that. It's crazy.
Well, do you know what I will say? Like, I don't want to in any way criticize the government's response, because I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I don't have any expertise in this whatsoever.
Have you ever I'm sorry not to be serious all the time. Have you ever acted as any of these though?
No, never.
Ah,
Never.
yeah.
I've got zero expertise in microbiology of any kind. But what I will say that I feel the government has failed on is simply the messaging.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to. The plan has been based on science and medical advice and the advice of experts and professionals. That's fine. I'm not going to debate that. I think they've probably made the right call. I just think that getting that information out to the public has been really like lacking. You know, releasing stuff through leaks and
Yeah.
sources rather than getting the vast majority of the public are not on Twitter. I think we know that from the last couple of elections that Twitter is not the country. Most people are not on there, particularly in this demographic that we're talking about that are most at risk. They're not on there. And also, most people weren't watching these daily briefings. Why? Because they were out and about doing what they weren't supposed to be doing. And so, these what I wanted to see was adverts running every single every time there was a break, every time there was a commercial break in anything, running adverts on every single channel. You've got, like, it was Mother's Day on Sunday. There should have been adverts for the entire week saying, do not go visit your mother, do not go, stay at home, give her a ring, don't do. Where were these commercials giving this specific advice to people? You can't just use Twitter and sources like online. It's not a way to get something this severe out to the public. That's the only criticism that I would make, and I wouldn't want to go any further than that. And I think they're doing a much better job now, I will say. But
I agree. 100%. I think they're a bit naive. I think they did think social media is such a powerful thing, but like you said, not many 7-year-olds want to be on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or anything like that. So you got to get the message across somehow. And I think it's the severity of it they didn't address, via the news initially. I mean, if you tune in and watch Piers Morgan every day, we should have all just been listening to Piers from the get-go.
And that's not something you want to say every day, is it?
No, that's not something you say every day. But he was quite adamant that we're getting it wrong as a country. I say we're as a country now because I'm here in the UK. But it's funny that, isn't it? Like, the old's a bit funny. My mum herself, I sent her when I knew it was, because we're a bit ahead of Australia on everything really in the UK. but I'd sent my mum a message, maybe a week before it started getting serious there, telling her about all the information that I've been gathering, especially from our club doctors and that, and from the news and that. And I started flicking her a message about some details, and I'm quite worried about my mum because she's really bad asthmatic, which makes a high risk anyway, but then she's old. Yeah. Sorry about the way I said that, mum. Old. So I basically just put it in those terms. I was like, mum, so just be careful. Just sacrifice, a couple of weeks or a couple of days. Just stay in the house. Anyway, 24 hours later, she's off to the bloody zoo with a bunch of friends that go do. I think it's like retirement pensioners. They all get together and they're off to the zoo. Anyway, they got sent home because basically of things going on. And I thought maybe she'd learn a lesson. 2 days later, she's off to the cinemas.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, the funny thing about it, and I'll cut it short, is a week later after my message, she's like flipped it on me and telling me how dangerous times are right now, and I need to be staying in and thinking about my health and all this. I'm like, flipping hell, woman.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I know.
It's funny. They're funny. They care. That's all.
You know what? You actually touched on something there that I think was really interesting, and I think that's a bit of messaging that's really key that isn't being gotten across to people. Is the idea of yes, this is rubbish, and it's gonna be rubbish for a couple of weeks, few weeks, months, whatever. But the longer we don't do the social distancing, the longer period this will go on for.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the quicker we all do it, as shit as it is, the quicker we all do it, the quicker we get to go back to normal, the quicker Rhinos get to play on Friday night again, the quicker Leeds United get promoted. Like the quicker we all do this, the quicker you can get that paycheck again.
Short-term sacrifice for a long-term outcome, isn't it? So
because they're talking over here of reopening everything because of the economy again, and they're suggesting that Trump wants to open by Easter. Date. But he says Easter. I think his hotels are suffering a bit, so he needs to get everything open again.
Of course.
But the point is that if that happens again, any effort that's been made over the next 2 weeks will be completely undone, and it will just start all over again, and probably even worse. And it's like that will just drag out the damage to the economy when you've got millions of people off sick, millions of people dying, and the healthcare system completely overwhelmed. That will make the economy. That will damage the economy even worse. Over the long term. It seems short-sighted to me. From what I read of what experts have said.
I feel like it's an individual's decision to, if they're not going to do it for themselves, do it for the elderly, the people at high risk, basically, the people at high risk, and the poor NHS workers that are out there putting their lives on the line every single day to make sure that these people contracting this virus are surviving.
Well, there was a woman on the radio. Was it yesterday or the day before? I don't know, a British woman. She was talking to some radio, BBC radio, something, and she basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but I mean you can listen to it. It was mental. She basically said, "I am willing to die just so I can have a trip to the beach. Like I don't care. Everyone's afraid for no reason." That's the quote. He said to her, "So you're willing to die to go to the beach?" She's like, "Yeah, I am." And it's like, okay, look, individual personal freedom. If you want to go and make that call and you're willing to die, that's fine. But I can only assume then that you're going to tell the NHS worker who has to treat you, no, don't worry about it. Don't you endanger your life treating me. I made the call to go to the beach.
Yeah.
That was my decision. Don't worry about it. But that's not what happens, is it?
No.
And so that's going to be an NHS frontline worker who is A, at risk, B, saving your ass when they could be saving someone else who got it through no fault of their own, and ultimately just costing the country money. Like it is a purely selfish act.
Selfish act, isn't it? Yeah. And the people that tend to say those sort of things are the first ones screaming for help when their hits the fan.
Indeed.
A less serious note, because we have been quite serious.
Yeah, let's get on to some good stuff.
And to be honest, whenever we've had chats in general, not as interviews, we're rarely ever serious, are we? It's always laughter and banter. But I have to cover one more serious. I have to cover one more serious question.
I've got some PlayStation 4 in to do, so come on, let's get on with it.
Right. All right. So, if there was, by any chance, a movie made about this situation,
and this is serious, is it? Okay.
Would you consider auditioning for the lead role?
Well, yeah, of course. Who's making it?
Okay.
Is it you? Have you written it?
Maybe that's what I've been doing in my spare time the last couple of days.
The Cuthbertson quarantine story.
Yeah. However, in mine, the lead role will be playing either Boris Johnson or Donald Trump. Would you still consider that role?
Yeah, I mean that's an Oscar waiting to happen, isn't it? That's right there. That's
well, I don't know. Maybe not in our era, but probably will one day, because they do that about every global epidemic, don't they?
I can't think of anything worse than a 2-hour movie where the lead character is Boris Johnson.
Why not? He's class.
Oh God.
I couldn't play him. I'd love to audition for something like that, but I'd definitely have to get a wig or something, because I've got my hair it's thinning out real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've more or less got his body. I just don't have the hair to match it.
You'd have to work on that posh Eton schoolboy accent.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, there's that as well. I can't do any other accent but the one I've got. So
Oh, they are. You see.
don't ask me to try because I'll just panic and it'll just come really awkwardly. But I think that is a serious question, to be fair. But anyway.
Do you know, I actually watched about a week ago when it started to hit the fan in the last maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I watched that Contagion with Jude Law.
Yeah. Good movie.
It's a good movie. Do you know what I found was quite interesting about it? Obviously, it was a whole different kettle of fish in terms of like it was killing like 20 to 30% of people. So it was a far more drastic example. But what I found really interesting was the camera shots, the directing, where they were showing just how easily it spreads. You know, every time someone touched something, it would linger on a door handle. The shot would linger on a tray of peanuts in a bar. Like it just showed all these places that people touch throughout the day and how it just exponentially grows. And it just really got in my mind because I wash my hands anyway. And then since this has happened, I've been washing them like militantly, like all the time. But then even watching that film, I was like, shit, I've got to do more. I've got to be like, I'm like carrying wipes with me everywhere. Like, I mean, I don't go anywhere now, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been on it. So everyone should watch it. It's useful.
I explained my version of that basically the other day to some of the lads, younger lads in the team before we went on break, and I think I got a few head scratches because the only way I could relate was when you were back at high school and they taught you about transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted diseases.
Right.
And I was talking about the tree and, you know, how 1 equals 5 and 5 equals 2. And I was trying to explain it like that and I lost them real quick and started scaring myself. I went, all right, anyway, the old fella's gone. You can go back downstairs into the sheds. So it's it got real awkward, but, you know. Hey, but being in Florida.
Go on.
Sorry, yeah, I was just... You go.
Well, I was just going to say it's very difficult to grasp those big numbers of exponential growth. But if something like that transmits to 3 people, each person transmits it to 3 people, those numbers get big very, very quickly. Like in 2 weeks, those numbers get into the tens of thousands. Like it's out of control.
Well, it's evident now with everything that's going on in Italy and. Everywhere. They've literally got the data there. Sometimes I find it hard to believe whether we're getting the truth and the real statistics. But even if we're not, those are still pretty damn scary. Some of the statistics have been thrown at us. Hey, being in Florida and that, I know you've just moved in a new apartment and that, and are still doing works to it. But have you ever watched the show Doomsday Preppers?
I have not. No.
You know what? You potentially have 20 odd days of isolation, of lockdown in Florida. You got to get on Netflix and put it on because these crazy people, because most of them are from Florida, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about that in a minute.
There's crazy people from America that doomsday prep. So people that don't know, doomsday prepping is like people that think the world's going to end sometime soon, so they create bases or bunkers and storage shelters and actual shelters to hide away or fleeing from city plans and that. So I've always been a big fan of it because I just always thought it was a brilliant laugh. But now I'm thinking, what was I was laughing at them. They were onto something here.
Let me tell you something, right? So I was at a place couple of weeks ago. I won't say where it is again because if anyone watches this, they'll know full well where I mean. I was at a place recently, and a place I go regularly, and there was a bunch of guys in there talking. A bunch of guys who I don't hang around with. I've not seen these guys in there before, and they were talking about this kind of thing, about prepping, about getting ready. I mean, one of the first things that I heard, which I was straight away like, "You guys aren't really my kind of people." They were like, the curfew. I don't care about no curfew. I'm not staying indoors. I don't care. And I was like, okay. Straight away, I've kind of gauged the kind of person you are. Probably someone I want to give a wide berth to. And then I heard him telling his mate. He was saying, "But don't worry, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. I've been making bombs. I've been making loads of bombs." And that, the word bomb, my ear pricks up again. I'm back in the room. I'm like, okay, I'm listening now. He goes, yeah, man, I've just been getting like stacks of dynamite, wrapping them in shrapnel, and just burying them in the ground. I'm ready to go. I've even started making pressure plates. I reckon I might put some pressure plates out on the driveway. And like everyone around him is like behaving as this is totally good and normal behavior, and I'm just like, what? Like, I probably should have called the FBI. I think.
I'm surprised I didn't hear it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the FBI. If you put this out, the FBI will probably come around my house and demand to know who this psycho was.
What scenario does he think actually is going to happen where he needs to get TNT and wrap it in shrapnel and bury it? Like,
how's that your first instinct in a pandemic? What is that? Is that for the virus? In case those pressure plates will stop the virus getting in? Huh?
Right. I've just heard there's a virus coming. Where's that TNT that I've been leaving around the house?
Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's great.
Where'd you even buy dynamite from? Where'd you get it from?
America.
Like Tom and Jerry? Like what? Who? Like where did you get stacks of dynamite?
Yeah. Last time I seen a stick of dynamite was on a. I think Speedy Gonzales was running. He was trying to blow up the Roadrunner.
Mental.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing we've got.
Different world, isn't it? Different world.
It is.
Different world.
It is.
Crazy, mental. Only in America.
A lot of people stockpiling ammunition, firearms, etc. I do not own a gun. We don't. We don't own a gun at all. I don't know if I'm telling the neighborhood that they can come and burgle me now because we don't own a firearm.
We've got into that. We've got into that other conversation about Trump. We shall not enter into the firearms conversation.
No, you get me late.
How's this affecting your work and Mrs. work at the minute over there?
Shut down. I mean, the entire industry's shut down. Yeah. For those that don't know, my wife's an event planner.
Yeah.
She had a bunch of stuff this month, like the Country Music Awards and a bunch of other things that were supposed to be happening that have all been cancelled. We can't fly anywhere. My industry, both the sort of Comic-Con type things, obviously completely shut down. All my agent and manager are all working from home. The industry's kind of. I mean, no one's filming anything right now. No one's even casting. It's quite surreal for me because I've been an actor for 25 years. I started when I was 5 years old, and for that entire time, even when I was at school, anything could come up at any time. Whether it's auditions. Mostly these days it's self-tapes. So the second I finish a job, and I think, oh great, I finished the job, I can now stop going to the gym for a bit and I can eat and drink. But I've always got to get the next job. So for the second I finish work, or even like a few months before I finish a job, my agent's sending me self-tapes to do, auditions to do, to go on camera for, to try and get the next job. You never really get a time off. I mean, even like I did a self-tape in my hotel room on my honeymoon, because although I wasn't working on my honeymoon, but when I get back, I want to go straight into work. So you've got to do the auditions and the self-tapes in preparation. And so there's never a moment which I can I'm always constantly trying to maintain a certain weight, like a certain look, because I need to be able to go on camera or go into a casting at any moment.
Yeah.
This is the first time in 25 years where that's literally not an option. There will not be any castings. There'll be no self-tapes. I've not received a script in 2 weeks. There's just nothing's going on.
Do you think there'll be do you think this time would be like almost like a blessing for you?
Maybe in terms of I'm enjoying having literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
But I will go insane because I don't like not having stuff to do like that. But I am enjoying just basically drinking at 11 a.m. and just eating whatever I want.
Preparing for your next role, just a full-blown alcoholic.
I've been quarantined for 2 days and I've put on about a stone, I think. I'm going all in.
Well,
I figure I'd have to be on a camera for at least a month, maybe 2. So I'm just going to go all in.
Here's a thought, right? and it's off the back of something that I used to always say for a laugh, but I started to believe it, is that I'd get through my career, I'd come out the back of my career, I'd basically do what you've just spoken about, put on a chunk of weight, and then to make some more earnings, I'd then go compete on The Biggest Loser and win that.
Oh, okay.
I'd go win it. I would win it because I was obsessed with it, and I know, like, obviously it's hard, but I just know I could do it.
Yeah.
Why you could potentially come out of 21-day lockdown and go straight onto Celebrity Biggest Loser, maybe? I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, like, because as you'll know,
did I just make that show up? Is there such a thing?
I've absolutely no idea. No idea, mate. But like, you see a lot with professional footballers, don't you? That when they finish, they've been so regimented since they were like 8, 9 years old, told what to eat, when to eat, train and all that. And then when suddenly you don't have to do that anymore, it's so easy to just fall off the wagon, as it were.
Oh, mate,
and that's kind of where I am right now, really, to be honest with you. I've just
falling off the wagon.
I've got naught to do, so I'm just eating food.
What's your fridge and your freezer and your cupboards looking like at the minute?
Well, here's the thing. We normally buy everything like fresh, like whether it's fruit and vegetables, whether it's meat. You know, we don't get anything that's we don't really get frozen food whatsoever. We went to the supermarket yesterday, and I went to buy not yesterday, 2 days ago. When I realized that I was going to have to go into quarantine, we're like, let's go buy like 12 days worth of stuff, so we could have to leave the house for 12 days. I bought actually my normal amount of chicken because I gave up beef last year for the environment. So I kind of just eat poultry, like chicken and turkey. So I bought my normal amount of chicken that I would buy when I go to the shop. I'm not hoarding, I'm not buying an excessive amount. But I was told to put like half of it back. I wasn't allowed at all.
Talking about that, how funny do you feel shopping at the minute?
Yeah, it's weird.
That scenario, we went shopping the other day, and I got a trolley, and I only filled the trolley up, and I didn't buy a heap of, like, I didn't buy more than 2 of any item or anything like that. But just putting it onto the scanner in front of people, I was just like looking around and thinking, you just feel like weird, don't you?
Yeah. Well, we had to buy toilet roll last week. We had to buy it. We'd run out. So we went and we went and got one pack of toilet roll, and I just felt like a dick. I felt like everyone was looking at me like, you
just feel like walking through going, stop looking at me. Oh, it's funny. It's funny because I bet you there's heaps of people out there that feel exact the same way, because I did the same thing. I only bought 1 pack, but I walked out feeling guilty, and you just it's just weird. It's just
I put the chicken back. I said, yeah, fine. No, I get it. I understand. It's fine. It's my normal amount, but whatever. Put it back. And then, so we've had to get a lot of frozen food, which is not usual for me.
What's the most unusual thing you've put in your freezer this week?
I got a Sara Lee cheesecake.
Just in case.
Just a strawberry cheesecake. I've not eaten one of them since I was about 8 years old. But I saw it, I thought.
Let me guess. First night, ate the whole cheesecake.
No, I haven't touched it. It's still there. I've eaten a lot worse than that on the first couple of nights, mate.
It's funny because we did the big grocery shop, and we filled up the fridge and freezer and the cupboards. In fact, we spent a lot, and it didn't feel like we filled anything up, to be fair. But you get through night one, and it was a bit of a cheat night, to be fair. The first night we were locked down, because that's usually the night I do it. So I sort of looked in the fridge and went, I'm going to have to go back to the shops again.
Well, I'm terrible for it as well, because if I've got it, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't buy it.
Guilty.
So at the minute, I've got some chicken that's fresh, and I need to eat it today. Yeah. But in my mind already, while I'm talking to you, I'm going, but I have got a frozen pizza. I could just have that.
Yeah. Mate, I'm guilty. We've just made a conscious decision to eat all the fresh things that we know, like basically eating whatever's going to expire next. And just going.
It's got to be. I mean, I literally cannot leave the house for another like 10 days, so I'm gonna have to do that.
When we last caught up, you were doing a TV series. How's that got on?
Yeah, it was.
Don't know what was it about?
Well, we have remade the TV show All Creatures Great and Small, which was, I'm reliably informed, incredibly popular in the 80s. I think it ran from the late 70s to the early 90s, pretty long.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of an institution. I mean, I am aware of it. I've never actually seen the show, but I'm very aware of it. And I think it was even quite popular in kind of like in the Commonwealth, like down your way, New Zealand, South Africa, and stuff like that. And it's been made in a US UK partnership, so it's going to be on PBS in the United States, sort of the channel that gets like Downton Abbey and the Durrells and all those kind of quaint British shows. It's going to be on Channel 5 in the UK, which is for me quite unusual, but they've invested very heavily in drama, and I think they've really gone about this the right way. So I'm quite excited for Channel 5 to move into this new area, which is not something that they've historically been a player in. And do you know what? It's a straight remake. It's set in 1937. It's heavily based around the books. And I think it's kind of right now when the world's a bit of a show and everyone's kind of like fretting from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep about what they're going to do. It's kind of that nice little show that I think people could really do with right now. It's not going to be out until September, so sorry. But I think it is that kind of show that people would kind of be into.
Missed the opportunity there.
Yeah, well, maybe when it comes around again next summer, we can watch.
Very convenient that Disney Plus came out.
Yeah, in it just I know.
First day of lockdown.
I know. Well, you know, I was saying this to the wife yesterday because usually the summer period is not a time you want to put your TV show on. It's not a popular time because you know the evenings are lighter, so people stay out later. Yeah. People don't want to sit in watching television in the summer, so usually you want to look at sort of autumn time, winter time. But anyone who's basically their show that was scheduled to be out in summer that normally would have been like, oh man, they hate our show, they think it's rubbish, they've put it on in summer, they're now going to be like the most watched shows like of all time. They're going to be buzzing about it. So
I think I've already clocked the whole of Netflix and Disney already. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, our show will be on in September, so hopefully we're all out of lockdown by then. I was supposed to do some ADR, which is where we dubbed the show. So if some of the sound wasn't picked up particularly well on the day, we'll go and we'll redub it. And that was supposed to be on Thursday this week, but since I'm in quarantine, I've had to postpone that.
Self-quarantined.
Self-quarantine. So hopefully I'll get that done in a couple of weeks when I'm not sick.
I wish self-quarantine was just a thing you could just do. Like
just any time.
Yeah, I don't believe we have to have an outbreak to self-quarantine.
Well, it's something you've just said about it. It's a fair point that you've made about how pretty much all sicknesses, whether it's the flu or whatever, you should do this with that. Yeah. But because the sick pay is, no one's in a position to do it. So that's certainly something coming out the back of this that maybe governments will look at and say, yeah, maybe we should sort out sick pay for people.
Mate, big time. Just one of those other things that we've started realising, isn't it?
It's a shame that it took a global pandemic for us to figure it out.
Shouldn't laugh, but it is, you know. What so the next couple of weeks, besides blowing out and falling off the wagon, what do you got? What have you got planned then? Anything? Have you got any particular hobbies or interest, I suppose, you can do whilst locked in?
PlayStation's kind of going to be my main.
PlayStation's going to be your thing.
Yeah. You know, but having said that, I've been thinking about this because I know you like to do a bit of handiwork, don't you? You like to build stuff out, and you do a lot of artwork as well, don't you?
I've just ordered a bunch of stuff, and it absolutely. I was overthinking it when you were talking about Amazon not delivering.
Yeah.
I've just ordered a bunch of stuff. I'm thinking, I hope that gets before they do that. Yeah.
What like building equipment or painting equipment? Like
I got a bit of painting stuff to do some stuff with the young fella, because obviously oil paints and that aren't great with him because it gets quite messy. What else did I order? Oh, I ordered a bunch of different products to make hand sanitizer from home. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because we're starting to run out. I just think, although everyone's smashing the whole toilet paper, I think smashing the whole toilet paper, is that even the right sentence?
Works for me.
I think hand sanitizer is going to be the main thing that's going to help us get through it. So just little things like that. What were you thinking then?
Well, I was thinking potentially I was going to be one of the. Well, I was going to. This is such a rubbish thing to say after you've talked about this actual. You're going to create something of actual real value, tangible value. I was thinking of learning the stock market. That's what I was thinking of doing. I was going to get stocks for dummies, and I was going to see
read through
if I can learn about it all, because not really even, honestly, I mean, it sounds absurd, but not really even to make money, really, because I have a portfolio which is managed by some other people, which I think is probably worthless right now. But I just want to know, when I'm discussing this kind of stuff and looking at what's going on at the minute, and people talking about, oh, should we be literally sacrificing old people on the pyre of the economy? I'm like, well, let's try and understand this a little bit better. Like, what is the actual, what is the real outcomes of a recession? What is the best way to tackle recession and deflation and all this kind of stuff, like and inflation? And you're talking about the government here putting a $1 trillion stimulus package. I mean, it's a figure that is so absurd that we can't even grasp the concept of $1 trillion.
Yeah. We just got so political. We lost track of time.
I know we did. We talked. We should have been more casual about it. I'm sorry for anyone back home watching this. You must be bored out of your mind.
Well, mate, I've even been prepared with questions, some no nonsense questions, but
give them to me. I'll try and do quick fire.
No, you don't have to. Don't be silly. I'd rather discuss it. To be fair, you're finished talking about your hobbies and what you're going to get up to and things that you might.
Yes. Yeah. So I was going to learn the stock market so I can understand this $1 trillion stimulus package, why it's important, what we can do going forward, and just something that I've always been interested in when I'm sitting around. I'm traveling a lot. Maybe I can do like some trades. I don't bloody know. So I thought it's always, I'm not very good at maths, so it's always been something that felt inaccessible for me. Yeah. But I thought, I've got the time, might as well give it a go.
During these times, it'd be good, I think. Like, I mean, you were saying that you just want to understand it. Really, it's not about making money, but I mean, it'd be a great time to understand and have some knowledge in the stocks. And to be fair, my whole career, right, I've always played alongside people that think they know a hell of a lot about stocks and they know absolutely nothing. I can tell you they know nothing because they lose a lot of money on it. And the same with horse racing and horses. So you will be the first friend I've ever known to actually be educated on the stock markets and how they actually work.
Right.
It'll be handy for me that I can come. I know who to come to for the real answers.
Yeah, let's give it a go. I'll give it a go. I'll let you know how far I get. What else am I going to do? I mean, I've got to get this house sorted, really. I've got to unpack a lot of stuff. And my wife likes me to put things on the walls, which takes me a long time.
What's probably the biggest bit of DIY you've done so far, or can be proud about talking about?
What, in this house? Or just in general in my life?
Yeah, in this house in general, yeah. Is there anything that comes to mind?
No, not even slightly. You're
not even going to pretend to be quite handy with the tools.
Well, the old, when the IKEA stuff comes, I put that together. I can do that. The flat pack stuff, I can knock that up.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, with a bit of help. But yeah, I put that up.
How agitated?
No, I'm not. Again, maybe this is something that I can learn, like you. Maybe I can start learning a bit of DIY.
Yeah.
Do a bit of that. It's just kind of the limit of what I can do, really.
I think. Along with myself and the rest of the world, we could all admit there's nothing worse than putting together a flat pack. It's awful.
It's not fun.
No, it's not fun. You get it when you purchase it. You get a sense of joy out of that. But when you get home and you open, you start to unravel the box and whatnot, and shit's flying everywhere, and you got these new tools that you suddenly think you got to keep for the rest of your life, and you find that you've already got the tools already. They're just stored somewhere in the back of the cupboard. Then you got all these screws that you don't even need to use.
I have paid like $100 extra to get some guys to come and do it for me back in happier times when we all had jobs and employment. And and that's when I used to pay. Like I had a guy come and put my TV up. Couldn't be bothered with that.
I don't think of that as being lazy. I think that is creating jobs for others.
Well, there you go. You see, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, look at this. This is me. This is my level of manual labour. I got a paper cut on my finger this morning. I got a plaster on it. That's the kind of manly man that I am.
Some tough hands then.
You should feel my feet, mate. I have the softest feet in the world because I've never done an honest day's work in my life.
Very, very good at holding pints, those hands.
Oh yeah, that they can do.
Yeah,
and I can take a punch, as you can attest.
You know what? Funnily enough, note right there, Mad Monday story, because I haven't copped too many punches in the face by too many people in my time, but I can admit now one of the most savage beatings I've ever taken was from yourself.
Well, ditto. It is reciprocated. I woke up the next day.
That was like a love tap.
What?
Would you like to explain the story, or because we're just having a bit of a laugh because we know what went on? But actually, you know what? I'll explain it because this is how I remember it.
Oh God, okay. I don't remember it at all. I remember waking up with a sore jaw. That's all I really remember. So
I can't really recall the first part of the story, but it was either day 2 or 3 of our Mad Monday after winning the treble.
Yeah.
It was straight after we finished up at winning, the grand final, and we've been on it for a couple of days down in Headingley, as you can imagine. Can't remember what day you turned up, but it was the same day that all this took place. Anyway, I think it was day 2. Anyway, we're up in. Actually, it would have been Monday because we're all dressed up.
Yeah. You were dressed as Ron Burgundy.
Ron Burgundy, yeah, I was. And I think you were sort of like falling in and out of characters. You were putting on people's stuff that just fallen off them. Yeah.
I had a mustache though because I was working.
Right. Yes, I remember now. I remember because we both had the big moustache going, weren't we?
I'd flown in from Dublin that morning because I'd been working.
hence why you were keen to keep going because you were just flown in from Dublin.
Yeah.
Anyway, we fast forward the night or day. Well, I remember it being dark, and we ended up in box, and we got talking about role playing, and you talking about playing football, and the knocks and that we're going to take. And so anyway, someone was dressed as a boxer. I don't know who. Maybe it wasn't even part of the party, but we found a boxing glove or 2 boxing gloves actually.
Yeah, 2.
And then we sort of, as 2 young males would, started egging each other on to put one on and batter each other in the face. And I was refusing to do it. I didn't want to do it unless you did.
Yeah, I remember that. I was saying, go on, you're soft, go on, hit me.
And I was like, I don't want to damage your precious good looks. So I spurred you on to do it first. And the funny thing about it was I didn't think it would hurt at all. And it didn't really at the time because of the amount of beers we'd consumed. But you took the glove and you caught me off guard because it was the most unorthodox punch I've ever copped. You took the glove and you set off in the right direction, but some reason you gravitated towards my forehead. Now, those people that are watching this and don't know what I do for a living or remember back then, I just played the grand final that weekend and I collided heads with Kevin Sinfield and had the biggest cut and stitches on the top of my forehead. And somehow, when given the opportunity to punch me in the face with a boxing glove on, you gravitated and absolutely belted me straight in my stitches. So, yeah, I to this day wish I had gone first, because maybe that would have never happened.
Well, I didn't want to hit you in the jaw. I'd have knocked you out. So I had to be careful.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Do you know, in hindsight, I'm having a bit of a flashback now. I don't think it was you that made my jaw hurt, because I've got another video on my phone of Ryan Hall punching me from the side, right in the side.
That was either the next night or that same night, but for some reason you wanted to get your box on with everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I could take it. It's fine.
Yeah. Good. I can't remember if it was your right or your left, but I remember it was a good punch. So
that was a good week. It was a good weekend. It was a good
brilliant weekend. What a year that was.
Yeah.
Weekend. But
do you know? Speaking of that year, I finally watched the documentary like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'd never seen
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before. Because I don't as good as it gets, because I don't like watching my own stuff, and I didn't want to hear my own voice for friggin' 90 minutes. So I didn't watch it, and then I was in a hotel room a couple of weeks back, and I wanted to check something. I wanted to listen to I think it was the interviews. There was something like Kev's interview or something. I wanted to listen to something that someone had said Kev said, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he talked about that, so I wanted to watch it. And I put it on from the start, and it just hooked me. I forgot just how amazing that year was. It was absolutely surreal.
To be fair, it's a good video, and I haven't really watched the game since, but I've seen that video a couple of times. It's just such a brilliant way to expose the game through documentaries such as that, because Rugby AM and Jonesy put that all together. Absolutely was brilliant, mate. The standard and the quality and the way the story was told I thought it was outstanding. So
well, the reason as well, I told a bunch of guys over here, because I went to watch the game when we smashed Toronto the other week.
Yeah.
I went. There's a local bar that I used to go to, and I watched I had tons of people down to watch the 2017 grand final. We beat Cass. I filled the outside area, and I used to go there regularly to watch Rhinos. And I went there. I got them to put the channel on. I got a beer in. I was all ready to watch it, and then she comes out the back and she's like, "We don't have it anymore. We cancelled it." I was like, "Flip the table." I threw my pint at her, and then
how did the Americans or your colleagues that you work with and that you preach about the game to, how do they take it? Do they enjoy it?
Well, you know what the frustrating thing was is that I got everyone down for that grand final. I said, "Look, these lot have beat us 4 times this year. Magsy's retiring. You know, it's a big game, but it's going to be really close because they've beaten us so many times." And then it ended up being the shittest game of all time because we just hammered them, didn't we? Absolutely just killed them.
Wow. When you say shittest game,
no. For me, it was awesome.
Depends what side of the
fence. For a neutral that I've been telling it's going to be a close game, it's going to be great. It was just for them. They were bored. They were like, so Leeds just always win, do they?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, but yeah.
I think that I think that year itself could have made for a good Disney. Because, hear me out. Think Mighty Ducks.
Right, completely.
Keep getting beaten and flogged by the Hawks. Game after game, absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We learned how to play rugby in the grand final. Boom.
It's good, that, isn't it? After they beat us the 3rd time, I said, I hope we stuff them in the grand final.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah, that was good.
But I think, for example, that Wigan game in 2015, that would have been a much better final for all the people to have come down. They would have been like, oh, this is amazing. But having said that, they're still into it. Like I get a few people to watch the games, and they've all got their own shirts now. Like Davo brought a bunch of shirts over for everyone. So they've all...
It's just understanding, isn't it, and educating. Because I think if you to watch the game, it can be quite confusing if you've never watched the game before. But so I think you got to watch a couple on the run maybe, or sit with someone.
We have the advantage. We have the advantage with footy because it's very similar to American football in terms of you say, you've got 4 downs to get over
the 10-yard line, you've got 6 tackles to get over the try line. So like there's similar kind of similarities like that they can get their head around.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing for Americans that blows their mind is that it's just 40 minutes. Like there's no stopping. It's just constant 40 minutes, just rolling. And they straight away, you'll see them in bars, because I'll go into a bar and there'll be a load of guys lined up at the bar, and they'll put it on a small TV and everyone will be like craning their necks to watch it, because they just can't get their head around like the pace of it, the fact that it doesn't stop, and the impacts and all that. It's a very attractive game to watch. It's just trying to get it on the TV. Once you get it on, people they're into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Americans are mad, so they'd love the game because it's just madness, isn't it? No pads, nothing. 80 minutes of going at it.
Yeah,
right.
That's it.
Well, I've got a couple more questions I'm going to ask you before we wrap it up. I was gonna ask you a question about have you heard or do you have any good conspiracies about everything going on? But I think we've talked enough about the virus, haven't we? So
yeah, probably.
Unless you got a couple.
I don't, mate. I'm afraid. And the only thing I could possibly think of is that it's the Earth it's the immune system of the Earth trying to remove the virus that is mankind. Because I've seen the aerial footage of the pollution going down and all the rest of it. But the sad reality is that when we go into a recession, no one's going to want to be investing in green technology and renewables. And the way that oil is so low right now, when people do get back out and into the cars, everyone's just going to be buying petrol, which is going to make it even worse. So it's a small respite for the planet, but I don't think it's going to fix anything, and probably will make it worse. But no, I don't think there's any conspiracies behind it. I think it's just a very efficient virus.
I like it. Yorkshire or Florida, where would you rather be locked down?
Where I'd rather be locked down. What's the weather like at the minute?
Good today, brilliant today.
Is it all right?
Top of 17, sun's out, just can't go out in it.
I think if my wife and dogs were there, I'd rather be in Yorkshire. There's something. I mean, obviously, we've never really experienced anything like this. It's completely unprecedented. But when you have something, a crisis, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a recession, whether it's 9/11, whatever, when there's a crisis, your first thought is of home.
Yeah.
And you want to be home. You want to be somewhere familiar. You want to be around people. I want to know where all the exits are. I guess I just want to be. I would rather be in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. So the answer is Yorkshire.
Yeah. And also, Pete, there's a lot less guns in Yorkshire.
Or TNT.
Or dynamite wrapped in shrapnel. Yeah.
3 people, if you could choose to be locked down with, who would they be? And you can't say family. I can give you an example because I thought about it today, and this will probably always continue to change because I've got so many interests. But I thought maybe someone very knowledgeable, a musician, and someone that can make me laugh. So I ended up coming up with Richard Branson, David Grohl. What? Come on, man! I'm being serious here.
I just thought Dickie Branson was an interesting choice. I mean, like of all the people who are like knowledgeable, you could have had like Neil deGrasse Tyson or even Brian Cox, but you've got Dickie Branson.
I was just thinking from a business point, of view.
Okay.
Come out with it very, I could learn quite a bit from him.
Plus, you just want to get quarantined. You just want to be quarantined on Necker Island, don't you? So you can sit in his hot tub. That's all you want.
That's the catch. I would be quarantined with him. So
yeah.
So there was David Grohl because I thought he'd have some brilliant stories about Nirvana and his time in the band Nirvana and his
That's
time
fair.
Obviously Foo Fighters, and I think he just played music all the time, so it'd be brilliant. I was trying to think of a comedian, but I was trying to think of someone that I feel like could be very dry / really funny all the time with plenty of energy to pick everyone up. So I was like heading down the avenue of maybe like a Eddie Murphy or someone. But yeah, that's my 3. You can't pick family. It's got to be outside of family and pets.
Here's the rub, right? Because
because mostly comedians, when they're not on stage, they're right depressing.
Yeah,
Because
I know.
you know they're playing a character on stage, aren't they? So they're actually right depressing when they're not on stage. You probably want to kill yourself.
Well, that's when Dave would come in and play some class music, or I'll just have to get a whole bunch of alcohol.
What if he's just playing Foo Fighters? Like after like 10 days, like, do you know anything else? He's like, nah,
No,
just no Foo.
mate, you'd know heaps more. You'd know,
Do you know?
like,
Just
I reckon
play something else, anything. I'm sick of hearing it.
we could get through all the Foo Fighters tracks, then all the Nirvana tracks, and then I'm sure he's got plenty up his sleeve. Well, go on then. You tell me.
All
Who
right.
would you pick?
So you've got an eclectic range there. I think that you're right. I would like to have someone who would be useful for like philosophical, ethical debates. That's stuff that I quite enjoy. Particularly right now when we're discussing economy versus human lives. I think it'd be quite useful to have like a philosopher or something, maybe like a Richard Dawkins or even like someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson would be pretty useful. I think he's an astrophysicist, but I don't suppose you can look at astrophysics without thinking on a philosophical level in some way.
Yeah.
Let's go with Neil. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He can pop along. I would be. Are you writing that down?
What? I didn't think you could see that. Did you hear that?
I think it'd be interesting to have someone political in there, just so I can get an idea of the wheels of government and what's going on.
Well, you could have Donald, and if you had to play the role of Donald one day, you could sort of what? No, you wouldn't want to study him.
I would probably have. I tell you what, Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry would be in there because
Stephen.
Yes, because Stephen is obviously one of the most intelligent men in the world, but also his background is being a comedian. So you get two birds with one stone there.
You're thinking
that. And I'd love to see him and Neil interact. I think there'd be some really interesting discussions there. And then finally, cat family.
Or pets.
Oh, pets. See, the thing with me is that I find people really good in small doses, but then eventually they'll do my head in. So if I was to get a comedian or someone they would probably eventually drive me insane. So I'm trying to think of someone in like relatively inoffensive. But someone that I'd also enjoy the company of. Who was your three? Your Dickie Branson,
Dave Grohl.
Oh yeah, music's not a bad shout. Actually, someone who can entertain with music. Paul McCartney would be quite useful, wouldn't it?
That would be an excellent three.
Because he can play, but then also he's got loads of good chat about the Beatles and Wings and all that old stuff, and he's probably met everyone going.
Yeah, well, that's sort of where I was going with the whole Dave Grohl thing, because how much I love the bands he's been a part of. So that makes sense. So it was Neil, Stephen, and Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Good three.
I mean, they're all. I mean, at least two of them are in that high risk demographic as well. So I'd be doing them a favor by keeping them indoors.
Yeah.
You know, I'm protecting Stephen and Sir Paul.
By the way, guys, saving your lives.
Yeah.
Right, I collect memorabilia.
Yeah.
All sorts of memorabilia. Throughout my grand finals career, I've got jerseys, all sorts. Is there anything that maybe you've collected along your career that you may not want to speak about because you might get in trouble, or just off the set?
Interesting that you asked this, because I've never ever wanted to put anything Harry Potter related on display. My parents do. I never have done.
Why is that?
But I don't know, really. It's just not. It's.
You don't want
I
it
don't
to
know. I
define
started
you.
it. Yeah, I guess a bit of that for sure. That's probably 90% of it. But then also because I started so young, it was something that I kind of fell into. It never felt like a job that I kind of earned. Like everything I've done since that has been like stuff that I've earned and I've worked at. Whereas I kind of just fell into Harry Potter. It's never felt like an achievement that I've wanted to like celebrate that much. So I'm not against celebrating my later work that I have worked towards, but I just felt like I got lucky with that. So it's not something I've ever wanted to put. But I'm thinking in this office, I might stick up maybe some posters, frame some posters that I've got, and maybe I saw actually Simon Pegg did a video from his office today, and he had a framed Shaun of the Dead shirt with the blood on it and the red tie. And I thought, because I've got Neville's cardigan from the last movie that's covered in blood and all burnt and stuff, so I might get that framed. I might get that framed and put that up. But do you want to see? I'll show you. We've started a little thing in this closet. I mean, this is not where it's going to be. We've just literally moved stuff into this room. Can't open the door. Oh, there we go. But we've got like, so I'm starting with this little section here. Can you see that? So there's a little bit. We've got a.
Is that straight after? Is that picture from straight after you murdered that poor snake?
Yeah, I think that's when we killed the snake. Yeah.
Oh, funnily enough, I didn't realize until you called me just before that I have never changed your name from my contacts from Snake Killer. You've been in my contacts as Snake Killer from day dot.
What if you get like an infestation and you call pest control? You accidentally call me by mistake.
Well, bring that sword with you because I might need you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get that, unfortunately. I didn't get the sword. That's
see, that would have been class because just like you, I don't really keep much. I've got all my memorabilia, but I don't hang it up. Like you were saying.
Yeah.
I used to back home because I had a bigger house and it was easier to do without looking like a complete nutter and self-absorbed. But I do now, since living in the UK, collect all sorts of weird because basically you're more accessible to it. So like I've got swords and up in this cupboard I've got Gladiator's helmet and I've got Lucille here.
Oh yeah.
And I've got a few things like that. So I was you know what? It's funny. I actually never was going to bring up Harry Potter because I never thought I'd actually bought anything. But then going through this cupboard just before, I realised that I remembered that I went to Audi once and they had like a little wand that lights up, and I've bought it and it's in the cupboard.
You got one? Brilliant.
Yeah, I do. Do you want to see it?
Brilliant. No.
Okay.
Good,
because that cupboard is absolutely full. I don't want to go through it.
I got a couple of bits. Like I've got like I'm a bit of a nerd, like science fiction nerd. So I've got.
Well, I am.
Right. So Ray Park, he played Darth Maul. He got me a lightsaber. Yeah. So I've got one of those light up lightsabers.
No way.
I've got a Star Trek comm badge that I got from the Star Trek prop house in LA a few years back. Just little stuff like that I want to kind of put up somewhere and have on display.
You know why I started buying it? Because one day I want to have a movie room where I can, for the kids.
Yeah. All that. That's a great. And I've got some really cool sports stuff as well. Like years ago for Rob Burrows' testimonial, I did a few bits and bobs for him. So he got me one of those half and half shirts, like actual grand final shirt. Half St. Helens, half Rhinos that both sets of players have signed. So I want to out from 2011 final, I think. So I want to get that up. And I've got a bunch of Rhinos shirts, and I've got a Leeds United like Legends of Ellen Road signed thing that I want to get up as well. So
speaking of Leeds United, we've gone for a good run. I say we've because I've adopted them as my club since living here. Good run this year. How much will it hurt if we don't get the whole competition sorted back up?
Frankly, I'm refusing to entertain the idea of the season being over. For various reasons, but straight off the bat, I mean, if you're going to cut a season short, wouldn't it make more sense to shorten next season and make sure you at least finish the one that you're 75% of the way through, and then at least people aren't wasting literally billions of pounds that have been spent on this season already, and that, you know, I mean that including the Premier League as well. And I also feel like that since the Euros have been postponed to next year, there's no reason that we would have to cut it short. We have the time, even if they have to play it behind. You know, if they have to test every single player and coaching staff and play it behind closed doors in a few months' time, like it can be done to finish it. There's only like friggin' 8-9 games left.
Yeah.
You could do that in a month, 2 games a week. You can do it a month. So I just think that to cut the season short would be so illogical and so unnecessary that it would almost verge on a conspiracy, because I just don't think it's something that is remotely fair or logical. And genuinely, I believe that I would say that even if we were doing shit. I just think it's a bad call to make.
Oh, massively. I don't think it's based on who you support. I think it's based on what's right.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like if I was being a dick about it, I could say, well, let's just call the season now. Leeds are in first. We win the title. We go up. Yeah. I don't want that either.
Nah.
You know, I want us to play the remaining games and go up as champions that way.
And earn it. Yeah.
The really frustrating thing actually is that, you know, we had hit some really good form.
Yeah.
And a lot of other teams were starting to look pretty tired. They're all going to get a nice little break now, and obviously our form is going to be irrelevant because it's going to be months before we last played. But I just think it would be. I just think the only thing that can be done is that we'll just have to play this season at some point.
As a Leeds fan, growing up in the area, what does it mean for you for the team to go back up?
Oh, it's enormous. It's huge. I mean, you know, obviously supported Leeds when we were in the Premier League before. I had my golden era of when I used to go the most, and I had a season ticket, and I used to go away to a lot of away games with Leeds. It was back down when we were in League One, which was some really football. Even the season that we got promoted, you know, the caliber of teams we were playing was just awful, you know. But it was amazing. It was an amazing time, like, because one thing about Leeds United is that, and same with Rhinos, is that even when they're down in the dumps, like, you know, whenever we concede a goal, that's when the fans get the most behind the team, and experiencing that when we're down in League One and seeing everyone like still being there at Ellen Road, still travelling to away games and selling out away, it was amazing. And I think for all those people who've stuck through thick and thin, they really deserve this. And at times, I know every club says this, every club who goes, but at times it's felt like there's been some curse at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
You know, through particularly the last couple of seasons when we're dominating games and we're hitting the post and goalkeepers are raising games and we just can't win despite playing so well, and everything that happened at the back end of last season. And then now this, it's just like, what else is going to happen to stop Leeds from going up? Bloody hell.
I stopped, as much as I love the watching the boys, I stopped going to games because I felt like every game I went to, we didn't win. That was 2015, yeah. But
I mean, I started to get that.
To live in the area whilst they're going really well and looking like being promoted is, you can just feel the energy of the town getting behind them, the city getting behind them. Sorry.
I mean, it's huge for the city as well, because whether we want to admit it or not, the football culture in the UK is so ingrained that when people talk about cities, particularly from abroad, when people talk about cities in the UK, no matter the size, no matter the population, no matter how good the actual city is, people talk about Liverpool, Manchester, London, because that's where the big football clubs are. And if you're not in the Premier League, you might as well not be on a map, for crying out loud, outside of the country. I was playing in an arcade here about 2 months ago. I went to play in an arcade, and they've got PlayStation in there, and me and my mate were playing, and he's from Liverpool, so he played as Liverpool and I played as Leeds United. And some bloke was in there and he was like, "Who the fuck are Leeds? Leeds United, who the fuck are they?" And I went, "Whoa, sunshine, you just wind that in right now." And then and it's just like the idea is that, particularly in America, which is a country that's come to football relatively very late, they don't know who Leeds United is, and that breaks my heart. And it's like Champions League semi-finalists in 2001, but that's 19 years ago. It's like, so I think for the city, the people, and the club to get in the Premier League would be enormous.
Agreed. Right, a couple more to finish off. I'm going to do yes or no, or just answer which one you'd rather.
Oh God, okay. All right, go
on. Yorkshire tea or iced tea? This is an American English thing.
Yorkshire tea.
Right. Rhinos or Leeds United? You sit on the
fence. I mean, I love Leeds United. Absolutely, I've always loved Leeds United. But Rhinos has been the club that I've been going since I was a boy. It's that my dad likes Leeds United as well, but he's never been a big supporter of Leeds United in terms of having season tickets and stuff. He's always had season tickets at Rhinos. It's a relationship I share with my dad, and also the club itself took me in many years ago, and I'm intrinsically involved through the foundation. It has to be the Rhinos.
I didn't want to ask that one because I knew how much you were passionate about both. Film or theatre?
Film.
Key lime pie?
You Googled these?
No, I've been to Florida many times, thank you.
Okay.
Or Eccles cakes?
Key lime pie.
Key lime pie is good, isn't it? I had one the other day, an Eccles cake. And I didn't know what it was, to be honest, until I bit into it.
I don't really like pastry, you know.
Yeah, you know. Baseball or cricket?
Cricket, but I do love baseball.
I asked that because I know you're a Dodgers fan now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I love baseball, but I love baseball because of how much it reminds me of cricket.
Right. Okay. So that's sort of like your American cricket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Football, as we know it, or American football?
Yeah. Soccer, football. Yeah, the rest of the world football.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. That's all I've got.
I struggle with American football, to be honest.
Yeah. That's all we have today on episode 1 of The Lockdown with Matthew Lewis. Thank you very much for joining us today, Matty Lewis. And
it's all right. I've got nothing else to do.
That's not the reason why you joined me. Don't tell people. You're in lockdown. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
mate.
Thanks for giving me your time, and I'll speak to you soon anyway, bro.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy, yeah.
Cheers, mate.